Okay, today I'm going to continue on the Exidy Crash, Circus, Ripcord, and Robot Bowl board. And I've been thinking about it, and I've been doing some searching online. And one thing I'm noticing when I see pictures of the Crash board, it does not have this sync chip in here. I don't even know why it's called a sync. Okay, when the chip is in here, you get these lines. Okay, you get these horizontal and vertical lines. When I remove the chip, they go away. See that? So let me put that back in. Now this isn't in the proper location, but I think what the problem is, this chip, first of all, this chip here is not programmed correctly, I believe. I'm gonna revisit that later and try to figure out why the lines are what they're doing. In the game for Circus, you'll notice that there's a border all the way around the screen, and it's got two little shelves on each side, okay? Well, this here looks like it's trying to build the border, and maybe that chip, you know, isn't right, and it's not drawing the shelves. So I'm thinking this chip is only for Circus. It's not for Ripcord, because Ripcord doesn't have the border, and neither does Crash. The Robot Bowl is different. It's a slightly different board. There's enough differences to make it. Okay, I also see where that guy was walking out. He was walking at that edge, so that kind of tells me this chip has something to do with those shelves and the border. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, Robot Bowl is different. This chip here was not a large chip like this footprint, but it was a little 16-pin PROM, you know, a 32 by 8 PROM or something. It's either 32 by 8 or a 1K by 4, I'm not sure. But anyway, this chip here is different for Robot Bowl, so this board may never work for it unless I get the program right on this for Robot Bowl. I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to revisit all these codes. Probably not this one at first, though, because I have to think about it. But I'm going to revisit these and put them in the proper order for the games. And also to where this doesn't have to be plugged in here. I'm going to try to make it plug in here because it's kind of crowding this one. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reprogram these chips and come back. And I will try to figure out this sync chip, because I believe its only purpose is to draw the border around the screen and also the shelves. The platforms. So if that's all it's supposed to do, then that tells me I just got the data wrong in the chip and I need to figure it out. Or the data's right and the addressing's wrong, because you got to remember, I thought this was doing something else when I created it. I don't know what I'm saying right now. Basically, I think the code is wrong. The board could be wrong, but I can get around it by reordering the data if that's the case. Okay, so let me do that. Let me program these chips and come back and we'll see where we're at. Now, this chip here has to be a double EEPROM, a fast one, because when you use a slow EEPROM in there, then you know there was a little bit of weirdness going on with the graphics. It was glittery looking. It was not stable. So, oh boy. Anyway, we're real close. Oh, and I was going to comment about this. If you compare the Exidy schematic or the Crash schematics against the Circus schematics, the only real difference is this. The only difference that I can see anyway. For Circus, they've added this stuff, okay? And the Crash board has spots for these, but not necessarily populated. So this looks to me like the external controller for controlling where the location of the teeter-totter is. I believe this is only for that, all this stuff here. So it's not going to keep the program for running, and it has nothing to do with the border. Okay, I think we can all agree. Well, I believe that this chip has something to do with the border, and that's its sole purpose. So if I ever want to play Circus on this board, I'm going to need to add this LM3900 primarily, and make sure that this is all wired the same, which I believe it is. I believe it's just missing the 3900, and then I would also have to wire for an external controller, for an external potentiometer. Anyway, yeah, all right, so that's what we're doing today. I'm going to try to reprogram these chips, and I can see if I can get this thing to work, and I'm also going to try to fix this eventually, probably not at first, though. Okay, it's the next day, actually it's the next evening, and I sat around reading about things and thinking about things, and I realized that this board here that I designed was wrong. I mean, it was, I revisited the schematic I created, and it's just wrong. So I did some hacking to the board, and now I've got the border correct, and the little platforms for the guys to walk on. All that's resolved, and it's all controlled by these two proms. Okay. The problem with this board was I had the right idea, but I didn't go far enough with it. I left off one of the address bits, and so it required 2 cuts and 2 jumper wires. And you can see I've got a blue wire hanging off the back of it there at the bottom of it. But that got it fixed. I still have a problem though. If you look closely at the balloons, you'll see there's a little bit of garbage, and it's a vertical line. There's a bright vertical line on all the balloons. Okay, it's like a vertical line like this, and as each balloon crosses that vertical line, it makes a bright spot there. That, I think, is going to be one of these RAMs. I think one of these RAMs is going to be a problem. I don't know really how to isolate it other than writing a program to read and check the ROMs, or the RAMs I mean, but I'm not going to do that. It would be too much effort for this, and I don't know if I'm ever going to be spending any more time with this after I get this thing running. But I guess just pull one at a time. I can also try to short the inputs and the outputs to that to see if I can affect the graphics in such a way to talk me into, thinking that's what's causing that line of brightness. But other than that, that's it for the graphics. Now, gameplay is another thing. I added a joystick port here, but it doesn't work. If you look at the schematic for that, it's this. Okay, so you have to have an external potentiometer. All right, and I'm using Atari controllers for that. It's a 5K, although that doesn't really matter because it's a voltage divider. And you have to add this 3900. Well, I didn't have a 3900, so I'm using an LM3401, which should be good enough. It should be the same type of thing. But the controls don't work well. The teeter-totter only goes on this side of the screen when I tried to use it. So there's a couple of capacitors and a diode in that circuit. So if you look at it, you got this diode here, it checked out. All the resistor values checked out, and the capacitor values checked out. So I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. Unless the 3900 is just slightly different on the gains or something. I don't know. But when I monitor the signal going here, this is basically a clock signal. When I monitor that, as I'm turning to the right, which makes the teeter-totter go to the left, I guess, that clock signal just collapses real quick. It should what am I saying? It should stay higher longer. No, that's not right. I guess the best way to explain it is to show it to you. So let me hook it up and I'll be right back. Got it hooked up here. So let me show you what the gameplay looks like. Push start button. There we go. All right, so eventually the teeter-totter is going to come out. So that's all I can do right there. It won't go beyond that point right there. That's as far as it goes. And I don't have very good control of it either. So if you look at the signal that controls that, see how that left edge moves smoothly? If I go all the way to the right or all the way to the left with it, okay, that looks pretty good. All that is correct. But as I'm going to the right, it just collapses all of a sudden. It should go all the way to where the two edges meet before it collapses, but it collapses right about there. A little bit more. Right there. So you see that? That's wrong. That shouldn't collapse like that. The two edges should smoothly meet up. And it doesn't. So I don't know what's going on with the circuit. It all checks out as far as ohming it out and checking the components. But yeah, that's what's wrong with the controls. And I don't know, I'm thinking maybe a capacitor might be a little weak, but they all measured within reason, so it should work. But other than the controllers, and this board was not originally a Circus. Originally it was a Crash. In fact, it's labeled as a Crash on the board right there. It says Crash. So maybe there's something else about the board, but the whole circuit, I've checked it out. It's there, and it's correct with respect to this schematic. This is the schematic out of Circus. And yeah, the gameplay for Crash works perfectly fine, and I believe all the other games, well, not Robot Bowl. Robot Bowl still didn't work, but Ripcord also I think is working. But let me change the settings here for a different game. Okay, that is going to be Robot Bowl right there. Oh, I gotta reset it. I gotta cycle the power. Oh. Okay, so this is Crash, never mind. You can see these lines are still here. This chip is not installed. These PROMs are not installed for Crash or any game except for Circus. This stuff is specific for Circus. So I'll just pull that out, and then we're perfectly fine. And this game does play perfect, just perfect, no problems. So that's Crash. Let's see, what's the next one? Okay. That's not what I wanted. If you can't tell, I'm really exhausted. It was a long day. All right, let's cycle the power on that one. So that game looks like it's working. I haven't actually played it. Let's see how it goes. I don't know if these controls are wired for this game correctly or not. What do I do? Okay, there's an airplane. What do I do? I guess I'm in that big airplane supposed to drop out or something. Oh, there it goes. So I got to figure out what the controls are. Okay, if I push to the right, that drops the guy out of the airplane. But how do I deploy the ripcord? All right, well, anyway, the game's working. I just don't have the controls for it. Yeah, no idea. And the other game is Robot Bowl. It's not going to work. It's not ever going to work. I don't think the hardware can support it. Cycle the power. Ah, shoot. So which one's Robot Bowl then? There we go. All right, so in Robot Bowl, there's supposed to be scorecards in each part of these, and there's supposed to be 2 vertical lines for the alley, and the ball is supposed to be just a dot. Now, I think what's going on with the ball is that's an inverted image. Instead of there being a black circle in the middle of that field, it should be a white circle in the middle of a black field background. So maybe just inverting the graphics would do that. Changing it from 1 to 0 on those bits, on those graphics bits. Maybe that would do it. I don't know about these scoreboards though. Is that the same thing? Maybe they need to be inverted so you can see it. Maybe it's that simple. But yeah. Anyway, that game, this hardware is quite a bit different than Crash or Circus or Ripcord. Basically, all 3 of those boards used this version of the board, the newer version, but they had a preliminary version for this Robot Bowl thing. Well, I think that's as far as I'm going to go with this, except I will try to fix the balloon graphics. If it really is, I need to watch some videos and see if it really is a problem, but I believe it is. I believe one of those RAMs is causing it. However, I don't see a problem with the other games in the RAM, so that doesn't make sense to me either. So I don't know what's going on. Anyway, that's it for this video. I had to build these boards because I didn't have the old proms, and I just went a little overboard with it. I thought it'd be neat to be able to switch between games, and it kind of works. It's interesting, but yeah, it's never going to be perfect. That's it for this video. I appreciate you watching.